Hey everyone, my name is John Talbot. I'm one of the attorneys here at O'Connor Law. I wanted to go over another topic that you might experience with your day-to-day workers' compensation claim, and that's labor market attachment, or LMA. So what exactly is labor market attachment, or LMA? Essentially, the board has a very broad view and understanding of your ability to return to work. Let's say, just for example, you're a construction worker, and let's say your doctor is currently stating that you're 100% temporarily totally disabled. But the insurance carrier's doctor comes back after you've attended an independent medical exam or an IME and states that you're only 50% temporarily disabled at this time. Well, so what do we have? We have a difference of opinion between 50 and 100. Now, let's say the law judge ultimately finds a split in the middle, which is always fantastic, and let's say it's 75%. In this example, anything less than 100, meaning 99 or below, you are found to have what's called a partial disability. Now, when we're talking about a partial disability, once again, anything less than 100, the board interprets this as your ability to find some type of employment. Now, generally, it's no question, for being the example that we were using earlier about your ability to go back to a construction worker's job if that's what you were doing, it's no question that you can't maybe do exactly the type of job that you had before your accident. But what the board interprets this as, when you're found to have a partial disability, anything less than 100, meaning 99% or below, is that you can work in some capacity. Whether that's a reception position, answering the phone, whether that is, being a car driver, anything at all within your medical restrictions. And so it's very important to understand that it's not a fight that, hey, the insurance carrier is saying I can go back to my old job. That might be very clear. What the board is getting at when you're found to be partially disabled is that there's something out there that you can do, even if it's not your old job. So when the board finds you to have a partial disability, they're going to direct you to maintain what's called your labor market attachment, or LMA. And what is this? Well, it's very similar to unemployment benefits. Essentially what you have to do, and what you're going to have to be directed to submit and do in terms of some work, or some homework we like to call it, is search for work within two things: your work restrictions and your medical restrictions. Okay, so what do each of those mean? Your work restrictions are anything that you're qualified to do, meaning, let's say you don't have a master's degree in aerospace science. Does that mean you should be applying for a managerial position to work at Boeing? Probably not, because the board's going to interpret that as a non-serious application, and they won't give you any credit whatsoever for that type of job. On the other hand, we have your medical restrictions. So what does this mean? Maybe you've discussed with your doctor, and even though they're stating that you're temporarily 100% disabled, but the board has directed you to search for work within your medical restrictions and your work qualifications. Okay, so with your medical restrictions, maybe you've discussed with your doctor, hey, I can't be seated for more than an hour at a time per day, or I can't lift more than 10 pounds, or maybe I can't ascend a flight of stairs, more than once every hour. It's going to be a million different things, whatever it might be. I want you to have that open and honest discussion with your doctor, because you're going to be given a list of work restrictions that you're going to use when we begin to discuss your labor market attachment. So now that you have those two aspects, your work qualifications and your medical restrictions broken down, you have an understanding of what types of jobs you can apply to. And let me just preface this by saying that there's not a requirement for you to find actual employment. The board is more concerned with you applying and putting in your due diligence to put in those applications, whether they're online, in person, maybe a workforce center, or some sort of in-person clinic for job postings, whatever that might be. We want to make sure that you're submitting those applications on a daily basis to evidence your labor market attachment. So now that you've had a direction to search for labor market attachment within your work qualifications and your medical restrictions, we want to discuss the timeline about how these forms should be completed. Generally speaking, the board is going to give you a lengthier time frame at the beginning and then request periodic submissions during that. So you might have gotten a direction from a recent hearing, or maybe you don't have any attorney at all to explain this to you. That's exactly what we're here for. These forms, these directions from the judge and the board, they can all be very confusing, and that's because they are. So give us a call at O'Connor Law, and we'd be happy to break all of this down for you and help you make a game plan to safely and smartly navigate through this process.